Yeah.
Okay, I have 2 o'clock, and I'm a big fan of start on time, end on time. And I know you all are very, very busy because you have a deadline coming up. I can say that without fear because you always have a deadline coming up. Kemi Barlicorn is going to manage our technology on the back end. If any of you would like to be visually represented and share your lovely face with us, just throw it in the chat if you see it and accept the panelist invitation. That'll let you on. Otherwise, you should still be able to talk. We are setting up everybody to be able to talk, even if you don't want to show your screen. That's fine. But we do want to make sure that you have the opportunity to chat. This is our latest installment of Tax Talk Live. What we have found is that there's a huge community on Tax Talk, a lot of people who are willing to share ideas, a lot of really good questions, a lot of really good content. How do you do this? Where do I find that? I have a client that's doing this. How do I deal with that? And one of the most important things about the NSA that I have heard from every member that I have spoken with is the community, the opportunity to connect with one another and to share as independent accountants. Here's a whole community that's out there and ready to talk with us. So we wanted to do that in a more live, vivacious setting. And so what we've done is once a month, we have these Wednesday calls. We have them in the first Wednesday of each month. And we're going to start off this discussion where I'm going to ask some questions of Deborah and possibly of Jency and kind of get the conversation rolling. We have some topics to talk about, but what always happens is that as we begin to discuss these things, we will end up moving into other areas, whether we're talking about new technologies, new tablets, things that happened in your state, client issues that you ran into, questions you might have about a form or a filing or something that's going on, et cetera, et cetera. Don't worry about it. If you have a question, feel free to bring it up. If you have a comment, feel free to bring it forward. If you have a question, what I will ask is, could you drop it into the chat? I will try and watch the chat. Kemi will also watch the chat. And that way, one of us can pull it up and bring it forward and then see if we can get some responses. If you have an answer, if you would like to say something and participate in the conversation, there's a little raise hand button. For me, it's at the bottom of my screen. It depends on what kind of device you're using, but it's probably at the bottom, middle-ish of your screen. It should be a little hand signal. Click it. That'll raise your hand. I will call on you, and you can unmute yourself and then, contribute whatever it is that you want to contribute to the conversation. I hope that makes sense to everybody. If you run into any technology issues, if you can't hear, if you can't see, if you can't seem to be heard, if you can't unmute yourself, put it into the chat. Kemi will then connect with you directly one-on-one, and he'll make sure that we have the opportunity to be able to engage with you, and he'll work through with you. Nancy is already using the chat. Option to show videos, chat is off, and the host has her muted. Kemi's going to go ahead and take care of you on that, Nancy, right away. Now, getting into the actual substance of the call. Thank you all very much for coming. I'm Joshua Caulfield. I'm the CEO here at the NSA, for those of you who haven't met me before. All that really means is I keep the trains running on time. And make sure that you get your benefits, and that I ask you for your money once a year so that you pay your dues. That's my role here. For today, I'm going to act as host. And so that means that I'm not going to answer any of these questions, but I have a lot of questions and discussion pieces to talk about. And I have Deborah Cope with us, who has agreed to be my guinea pig, my panelist, to talk about, what's going on in her circumstances. We're going to start off talking about a couple of different things, but this conversation, as I mentioned earlier, will roll in a lot of different directions. Hello, Deborah. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, Josh. Thank you.
Deborah, can you describe your practice real quick, just to give us a sense of how many people you have in your office and what size and where the heck are you?
Okay, I'm a sole practitioner in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I have two full-time data entry support people and then one part-time.
Wonderful.
My assistant, she does data entry as well, but she kind of keeps the phones answered and scheduling done for me. But other than that, I'm the only one that does actual tax returns and both personal and business. So
Wonderful. I want to start by talking a little bit about the IRS forums. We're getting ready to come up to the last forum. I kind of want to get a sense. I've heard a lot of different things from a lot of different people. Some people really enjoyed them. Some people did not. Some people got a lot more out of the conversations and networking than they did out of the sessions they went to. Some people loved the sessions, especially that one by Mr. Myers, who went totally off script and had a wonderful dialogue. Deborah, did you go to the IRS forums this year?
no, Josh, I wasn't able to attend any of them this year. When I got ready to sign up for them, the ones that were close enough to me were full. And so generally they have one in Atlanta, but they didn't have that one this year. So I wasn't able to attend. And so it sounds like I missed out on some good opportunities for meeting, networking, and CPE.
Well, some people thought so. Some people went to other meetings. Did you go anywhere else?
I went to our local, our state convention was joint with the Mississippi Association of Public Accountants, the Tennessee Association of Accountants. We meet generally every year, or we try to. COVID kind of messed us up a little bit, but we've been having a joint convention with them for well over probably 20 years. So it's worked out real well. We're able to get accounting and tax both usually 12 to 14 hours for 3 days.
Nice. 3 days, 14 hours of CPE. Fantastic. And do you do that every year?
We do.
Okay.
We do that every year. And generally we switch up who hosts. Mississippi, I think, probably hosted a little more the last couple of years, but we generally, this year we had it in Huntsville. So we had an Alabama person, and we also had a very good speaker. Kelly Myers was able to join us for that seminar. So
That Kelly, he's getting around.
well, we really appreciated it, and it was a great time. There weren't very many of us, but we had a really good time. So,
and I just want to acknowledge Kelly is on the call here today. Kelly, thanks for joining us. What was your favorite part about either the IRS forums or about speaking with some of these state and local groups?
I mean, I just really enjoyed, the sharing, and thanks for hosting this, Josh. It's really good. It's community. I think one thing that surprised me a little bit, but I was thankful for hitting the forums, and even when I speak with different groups, is people go, "Oh, I know about NSA, or I know about this person and that person, or I've heard you speak in the past," and that's great that there's that network out there, and people feel free to reach out. We learn. I tell people, I said, learn something from others all the time, which is part of community and part of the tax world we live in. If anyone goes around and boasts that they know it all, sign up somewhere else, right? Because it changes all the time, right? But I love the community piece of it, and we had. When you go to a conference, you get this cross section. I ran into people in Baltimore and Chicago that were from Mississippi. I'm like, "What are you doing here?" They're like, "Well, that's where we decided to go," right? So yeah, a lot of community and a lot of interacting and sharing ideas. And I mean, the one event we were at that I thought was fascinating to me is more the practice management discussions that have occurred, and it's interesting to me. I think of everywhere from people go like, how do you value bill? How do you bill? What's your client base look like? What's your minimum fees? All the way to, do you accept credit cards, right? Does everybody prepaid? How do you run because that's as important as anything to making life financially successful is how do you manage a practice? You can be the brightest guy in the room, but not know how to run the business side of the house. So all those things were a lot of good sidebars at the conferences.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelly. Judith, I saw that you had your hand up, and if you want to unmute yourself and share, we'd love to hear from you. And just to let all the rest of you know, we'll mute you as you come in, so don't forget to unmute yourself. I constantly, on these calls, am talking for a few minutes before I realize no one is hearing me.
The only reason I had the hand raised was I was told to do that in order to get appearance on the screen.
Excellent. Well, we are delighted to see you now. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Deborah, I'm going to come back to you. What is keeping you up at night right now?
All of the extensions that I got in April and March for tax returns. due
Excellent.
September the 15th and October 15th.
Because there's always a deadline. But do you have something special that happened? One of the things that we're going to start launching in October is a state and local newsletter where we're going to begin monitoring bills using a bills checking system for state legislatures and such like that, as well as, of course, federal. And we're going to be doing a political, regulation, policy, restrictions, those sorts of things that are coming out, and try to get out there ahead of them so that if some of them need to be spoken out either in favor of or against, we can rally the cause and get everybody there. But I understand you had something happen in Tennessee recently that's causing you a bit of consternation.
Right. So in Tennessee, they did a repeal of the Schedule G portion of the franchise and excise tax returns that are due for LLCs, S corporations, and C corporations. So that was based on, they got sued anyway. So they've changed the law. You can go back and amend the tax returns for 21, 22, 23, 20, 21, 22, and 23. And once those amended returns are processed, if they qualify, they get a refund, but you have to ask for the refund after you've amended the returns. And the 23 return has to be filed as if the law had not changed, and then you have to amend it also. So that all has to be done and finished before November 30th. So it's a kind of small window to go back and check for all those years' returns. If there were no changes to any of the other return, part of the return, as in the balance sheet, then it's not quite as difficult because we can do it on the 10-tap system and make those changes. But there are some there's some liability issues because you have to have the client confirm that they don't owe any other kind of back taxes, child support, or anything else that might affect them in the state of Tennessee. So
that's interesting in a lot of different ways. I'm not going to dwell on the Tennessee portion of it because not everybody here is with Tennessee, but a lot of what you're doing is transferable to some other things that everybody is dealing with. The first question I have on this is, how are you? So this is like 3 or 4 different tax returns that you're now amending and resubmitting, and then you also have to apply for the refund. How are you charging for this additional work? Because I'm sure your clients would all like it for free.
it's been difficult to decide exactly how to charge for it, but most of the people that I've talked to that are amending them have generally they want to charge per return, and they have, most of them have gone back to look to see if the refund was going to be sufficient to cover the charge. So we kind of come up with there's several schedules and the forms that have to be signed, and of course there's engagement letters. So probably about $350 to $500.
Don't tell me about the pricing. Just tell me how you're doing it.
Okay.
Otherwise,
So
I have to yank the
okay,
tablecloth out and throw it on the ground. And
so per form, where that's what we're charging for. However, If the refund is not sufficient to cover that charge, then of course the client has the option of not amending the return.
So you're
So-
charging a fixed rate per form.
For the most part. If there is a difference in the Schedule F balance sheet, if that has to have more work on it, then that's going to be done on a hourly basis for that change. So,
Okay. And that might happen, for example, if you didn't have the client back then, if they're a new client for you, that could be a lot of work. Yes.
yes.
Okay. Excellent. Jency, I'm going to jump over to you. When you do amended returns, don't tell me the amount. I don't want to know the
Sure.
dollar number, but tell me how do you build it into the original price of the tax return? Do you run on a monthly basis? Do you charge per form?
We charge per form and time together, just a combination of the two. If you're amending a return and it's just one line you're changing, then it's, minimal. But if we've got to redo, it's kind of like what Deborah said, the whole return, we charge the same as if it was an original return.
Okay. And Hussam, I see you have your hand up, and I hope I've pronounced your name right.
Yes, you did. Thank you. Usually, sometimes my name got tortured, but you did very well. Thank you. I do both. I do perform and time. So if I start with minimum fee for a W-2, for example, and then going with people with a Schedule A and so forth. And if client keep going back and forth with questions and bringing more papers and not disorganized, of course, the fees goes up.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
I
Does
have one
anybody
more-
do? Oh, go ahead. I'm
No, go
sorry.
ahead. Back to the amended returns, if it's a mistake we made, we do not charge the people to amend the return.
But that never happens.
Never happens. But in case there was a form here, we just happened to miss and we need to go back and amend it. We do not charge for those. We feel like it was our mistake.
And does anybody do anything different? Okay. If
I
you
do a
do,
little bit.
go ahead, Ellen.
Sometimes, and I'm doing this now, it's a self-preparer that really messed up her situation. So I'm amending her returns. And sometimes if the refund is going to be less than what my normal fee would be, I split it so that they end up ahead. So
Why do you do that, Ellen? I think it's an interesting way to do it. I'm just curious, what is your thought process for how you've decided to make that choice?
Okay. I guess maybe just because the thought is that if I get this fixed, that they will continue to be a client. And if I don't hit them hard, then either that or I'm just a sucker.
No, I think that's brilliant. I mean, it's not quite a lost leader strategy, but you're showing them what you can do, and you're not showing them every time that they come for something, they're going to get, charged to the brim. I think this is wonderful. This is a good plan. I like this plan. But my follow-up question then is that working?
Yes.
Then this is a good plan.
Yeah.
Excellent. So I'm going to use that. Oh, Kelly Myers. And yes, I am going to use your full name every time I
Yep.
call on you.
That's all right. Yeah, the only thing I would add, I would make an observation, I guess, with if we're discounting down, and I've tried to be better at this because we give discounts for various reasons. I would advocate that you state what the value is, right? I mean, if you're amending a return and it's $500 would be your normal charge, and you're going like, gee, you're only getting 400 back, so I'm going to charge you 250, whatever your numbers are, right? Bill them the full amount and then bake the discount in and just show it to them.
I do.
And
And I call it the kindness discount.
Or the one-time coupon. I mean, but yeah, but just and that's great, I think, right? Because I've run into that in the past. Because then what happens? Dynamics change, right? And then they come back and say, "Well, hold it. Last time it was only this amount, and now it's all this much more." So, but yeah, but I was trying to help you out here because, you know, widows and orphans and amendeds and whatever the story. But I think that way they value our time, which is, I think a struggle a lot of us have. We undervalue ourselves.
Yeah.
That was it.
I
It's-
agree. Yes, they know what the full charge is, and then that I'm being nice.
Good. Yeah, that's good.
Hyman, I see
I
your
was just gonna-
hand up.
yeah, I mean, to add to that, to the extent that it's feasible to do so, I usually try to get a pretty good handle, especially if it's a new client coming in the door. I want to get some kind of an idea as to whether I think I'm ever going to see them again or not. If it's a situation where I know it's a one-time thing and I'm never going to see them again, it doesn't matter to me. If it took me 2 hours to do it, I don't care if you're only getting back $300. If it took me 2 hours to do it, I still got to get paid for my time. In the end, right? Now, if I see a potential long-term relationship out of this thing, and a lot of times it's just a situation of just looking at the return, and seeing what's on the return in the first place. When you interview them, you find out what their normal situation is. And this was a one-time thing. I adopted a child last year, and I didn't claim the credit, or I bought a Tesla and I didn't claim the credit. But the rest of the return has got nothing on it. There's no long-term relationship there. I don't see any reason to really give the person a discount, in that situation, because in all likelihood, you're never going to see them again.
Got it. Deborah, we were talking earlier about you undercharging some of your clients, and you have a rationale behind that. Would you like to share that?
It's really hard to bring people up to what they should be paying if you have kind of let them slide over the years just because you've had them for 20 plus year as a client. So I worked with my mother in this practice before she retired, and a lot of the clients that I have, the older ones, I still undercharge them, and she did their tax returns. So yeah, I've got a soft spot, but I kind of like Kelly's idea about showing the discount. So I don't know about the kindness part, but sucker maybe.
And what do you do with new clients, Deborah?
I've started to where I have a minimum charge for new clients, and if they don't want to pay that, then they can just go someplace else. If they're a referral from an older client and not older in age, but long-time client, sometimes they will tell them what they pay me, and then I'll say, well, I'm sorry, but this is what the charge is. I'll give you a discount on this return, but going forward, it's going to be this amount. So
Got it. Michael, I saw your hand was up.
Yeah, hi. I actually similar experience, kind of with the family practice that, having recently kind of been here full time, experiencing the same thing of, having clients that have been with us for a number of years that are just paying substantially less than market, and kind of struggling with that. And some of them, of course, you have. Some of them have known me since I was 15, so it's kind of hard to to tell them like, well, where you have to increase your price too much. So we've just gradually increased prices for those is what we've done throughout the years, and kind of continue to do so. But I think one of the benefits that we've had in our practice is being busy enough in tax season and kind of just sitting back and saying, well, I'm only going to sit here and work past 5 or on a Saturday if I'm going to make X, and this X fee is what a new client is what it's going to take to get this new client in. Because if I'm missing dinner with my family, I want to know I'm making this much money, right, off this return, because I'm not going to be doing that just for that. And I think that's also gone to, I think the concerns that folks have with tax in general of the free things and the online things and all of that kind of eating our lunch, so to speak. So we really are looking for people who are more value our knowledge and our expertise. And by setting that bar high, that price high, that's to know what you're offering. And that goes aside from the fact that we concentrate a lot more on the businesses. So we're doing a lot more of the personal of the business owners and their family versus kind of going out and looking for individuals. So yeah, thought I'd share that.
I love that. And yes, I have seen those TurboTax commercials. They're going to do everybody's taxes for free. No problem. And there won't be any issues at all.
Of course not.
My follow-up question on this discussion is, does everybody have a, this first part is rhetorical. Does everybody have a minimum client price? If you don't have a new client price minimum, you know, how do you determine whether you're going to take a new client or not? That part's the not rhetorical. And then also following up on that, and then a separate question, are any of you turning clients away at this point?
Mhm.
Yes, I see Michael nodding. I see Kelly, I see Deborah, I see Hyman. Hyman, tell me how do you turn someone away?
I'm probably not the best person to ask that question.
Oh, you're exactly who I wanted to ask first.
Oh, good. I can see how well this is going to work out. Unless it's just a complete mismatch or if I tell them what the minimum fee is and I look them in the face and I get that, deer in the headlights look, I know that's not going to be a good fit for me. All right. Other than that, I have kind of a unique attitude, towards this kind of stuff. I do not turn away a lot of clients. All right. If they're willing to pay my fee, all right, then I'm basically willing to take them on because I'm in the stage now. I'm going to be retiring in 3 years, and I want to have a practice that I can hopefully sell. And I can't sell it if I'm losing clients, and not replacing them with other clients. I mean, the good news is, for whatever it's worth, that with the talent shortage in the CPA and accounting profession in the first place, there doesn't seem to be any problem getting new clients to come in the door. Yes, am I losing clients? Yes, of course I am, like everybody else does. Again, we're losing them to TurboTax and H&R Block and all of that, and that's okay. If they want to go somewhere else and they want to get it done wrong, I'd be more than happy to charge them twice as much to fix it, as what I would have charged them, in the first place to do it right. But basically, my attitude is kind of, I'm not actively soliciting any new work at all. Everything I'm getting is on referrals from existing clients. All right. And most of my clients right now, I have to say, honestly, I'm pretty happy with and are pretty good, except for the fact that it's still September and October and they're on extension. All right. But, I've cut down my client base from over 500 to about 350 or so now. And I'm making twice as much money as I did, 5 years ago by doing so. So I've got 350 good clients and they're referring me their friends and family. I really can't say no.
Nice.
That's just me. But
And
again,
Hyman,
you got to be willing to pay the nut.
You said something early on that I'm going to use to pivot. You talked about you want to be able to sell your practice. And I saw Kathleen just posted a comment to the chat. Kathleen, do you want to share that, please? I thought that was great. Yep.
Yeah, my old firm was much larger than it is now.
Oh, I think we might have lost you, Kathleen. Okay.
Sorry, yeah. Just letting her be a co-host. She's gonna be back there.
There we go.
Great. There she is.
So some years ago, my old firm that was a partnership, and it was much larger than it is now. I kind of creamed the crop of the clients I wanted and left. But at the time, I had 2 prospective purchasers approach us, and we actually weren't actively thinking about selling. And ultimately, they both rejected us because of our demographics. We were too heavy in the tax-only work.
Interesting. How many of you have exit strategies? And is anyone in? Okay, Michael, I'm going to call on you because I saw you raise your hand. do you mind sharing a little bit at the high level of what your exit strategy is and maybe a time frame?
So no, I mean, my time frame is probably a little bit longer. I'm probably looking at like 15 years, 10, 15 years. And my strategy is actually to grow, but grow the right way. So kind of like how Hyman mentioned about having better paying clients. And that's kind of the thing. It's kind of hard to say no. Like here's someone who says, I'll take your money, I'll give you money, and you're saying no to them, but it's really hard to, but it just makes the most sense in the long term, because eventually you're just going to have to fire them if they're the folks who are, look, I have a client that I'm going to have to fire because he shows up on September 15th expecting his return to be done on September 15th. And last year I told him we wouldn't put up with it. This year that, last year was the last time. He said he'd be there at 5 o'clock and blah, blah. So anyway, so having the right kind of clients, I think is really it, and making sure that it's a very structured business. So having processes in place, having systems in place, knowing how to be able to grow. So I bring someone new in and I want them to be able to understand what is expected of them. How do we operate? How do we deliver to our client? And so kind of investing in those small things to just have a practice where a new owner could come in, and even though, I'm the face, they would be able to step in and easily be replaced. I could be easily replaceable. And so that's, I think, ultimately the goal to optimize what I would be able to get for the practice in the future. And there's a lot of interest from private equity today. So I think that will continue in the next decade.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that. Lorinda, I saw you had your hand up.
Yeah, so last year I semi-retired is what I call it, especially once Medicare insurance kicked in a couple of years ago. It made it more attractive not to work as much just because the health insurance was covered pretty much. So I had an employee who purchased the corporation, and he was not equipped to do all the personal tax returns, and I didn't want to give up all the personal tax returns. So he bought a portion of those, and I kept about 500, I guess, which turned out to be around 450 before extension. So that's my exit strategy, and I will work a few more years, but just during tax season. And I happen to be at work today doing a couple of extensions, which I'm going to just quit doing those too. I'm just going to tell them they have to go to him now because I just don't like to work all year.
Lorinda, I love that part-time work for you is 450 tax returns.
Well, it's
Yeah.
it's just not part-time during tax season, certainly, but I love what I do. I love doing personal taxes. I did not want to deal with the accounting and the employees. And I mean, I do have two now, but they're not doing bookkeeping and payroll and accounting clients and QuickBooks people. And I love personal income tax returns. And so that's kind of, since I enjoy it so much, and just in those couple of months you can make bank, and why, and I work out of his office. So, it makes it really convenient to be here to help him, and for me to, when I'm gone, he can take care of people that come in.
Nice. So you get to do the part you like. You have support team that you've got there, and you can walk away when you are ready to do so, and you've been paid for it.
Yep.
This sounds like a good plan.
I know.
Ellen.
I like it.
Ellen, you're up.
Well, I am in the process of retiring myself. I actually sold my practice last December.
Congratulations.
I kept a few clients. I specialize in trusts and estates. So I had a number of clients where somebody had died in 23, and I didn't want to bail on the family in the middle of things. So I kept a few clients to get them through that whole process. And the person who purchased my practice, our agreement is that I would be available for consultation for this year and next year. So I'm actively working on, I'm on the discussion board and things like that, and actually I'm working more than I expected to. Anyway, So I'm gonna do through next year, just be available for consultation, and then I think I'm gonna be done.
And Ellen, you said you kept a couple of these trusts and these clients. How many did you keep?
About 10, not
Okay.
many.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Jency, do you have an exit strategy?
I do. I have a partner, and I agreed with her. I'll work 10 more years. So yeah, we got a real good plan going here.
Excellent. 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 Deborah, do you have an exit strategy?
You know the answer to that question.
I do. I do, in
Um,
fact, know the answer to that question.
no, I do not have an exit strategy. I am kind of playing it by ear. There are a couple of people that I have talked to that we can work something out, but it's all just in the talking stages. So I know I'm going to do taxes one more year. So if I get 223s.
Thank you. Thank all of you. If I don't thank you individually, I'm sorry. But I appreciate that. Teresa, you talked about going 100% virtual and the client shift for you. Would you mind sharing that story?
Yes, 2 years ago, we opted to go 100% virtual with our business. Closed our physical office. Myself and my staff member both work from our homes now, and we operate via VPN into our service center, which is actually in the employee's house.
Nice.
And we expected to lose some people. We did, about 25%, but at the same time, we instituted a substantial price increase, which we thought would cause more people to leave, but it didn't. And we're now working with 75% of the clients we had before and making as much money as we were before. So it's turned out to be a good thing for us. And we weren't actively seeking to grow, but we're getting client referrals. And so we're still continuing to grow without really actively looking to grow.
Teresa, I would like to explore a part of that, if you don't mind. Without telling me the numbers, how did you go about deciding what was going to be the price increase? Was it percentage? Was it this is how many hours it's taking? Was it competition analysis?
It was more of a competition analysis. I get the reports from NSA each year that lets me look at what others are charging. And that helped me to see that I was way below market and needed to be brought up to market. And obviously my clients thought so too, because they stayed.
Nice. And going virtual, was that in response to COVID?
We had already gone partially virtual due to COVID, but we still had the physical office open. And even after COVID was open, we still had the physical office open. But I had moved 120 miles away from the physical office, and it was more and more of a challenge for me to get excuse me, to the physical office. So after some discussion, we just decided to take that leap, call it a leap of faith or what you will, and just make it 100% virtual.
Nice. Yeah, 120 miles is a long commute.
It is.
Michael?
Yeah, I was going to ask Teresa, do you think that so from a client perspective, they adjusted, but do you think that in the future will impact your ability or price that you would get for if you would decide to sell your practice in the future? I don't know if that
You
is a
mean
consideration.
adjusting the pricing or?
No, I mean, if you so in the future, I don't know what your plans are for, for when you sell the practice, let's say, do you think that will impact the ability to sell it for more versus it having still a physical office that people know and relate to? Because you're the face, right? It's not. I'm curious if you've thought that through or any insight.
Well, truthfully, our geographic location was terrible. We were in a very rural area. I had actually sought to sell the practice a couple of times, and nobody wanted it because it's not in an area that's growing geographically. And a lot of our clients were already scattered throughout the country. People would move away and still send their stuff to us each year, one way or another. And when COVID made so much possible with being able to do things virtually without ever being with someone in person, it just was a logical next step. And truly, my exit strategy is that I am selling the business to my associate. So I don't think she's going to want to sell anytime in the future. I think she will take care of it for another 20 years, and then she'll have to decide what she wants to do.
Nice. Thank you. Nancy?
Hi. I just thought I would share that with all this talk about offices, my office has always been in my home. And I've had my practice for 39 years. It'll be 40 in December. And I have clients all over the country as well. And I just don't see it as a dollar deficit, if you will. I think that, yes, I am the face, but as many people, when they sell their practices, you know, if you consult or continue to prepare or work for the person who purchased your person, have a, your company, and have a contract with them for a certain length of time, or whatever your decision might be or your negotiations might be. I think if you are going to sell your business and you find the right person, then I think it works out great regardless. I started my business in Oregon, and I moved to North Dakota in 1996 from Oregon. And then I moved from Minot to Bismarck 2 years ago. And when I moved from Minot to Bismarck, I probably lost about, I lost, I think, about 8 or 9 clients. I didn't lose any when I moved from Oregon to North Dakota. And I continue to get referrals. Speaking of stress, I have two new clients that I've been referred, and one is 10 years of back taxes, and the other is a trucker who has really big accounting problems. But I love my work, and my exit strategy is when people ask me, when are you going to retire? Aren't you going to retire? I say, well, I'll probably be found at my desk with my visor on and my pencil in my hand, because I just, I love my work, and I'm older than I look, and I don't know. It's very interesting to hear exit strategies, because my exit strategy is non-existent. So I'm with Deborah.
Gotcha. Thank you for sharing that, Nancy. Robert? You're on mute, sir.
Better?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I sort of inherited my practice from my wife. I'm an enrolled agent. She was a CPA for 25 plus years. And then a few years ago, she had a bad relationship with numbers and said, "To hell with it, I'm out of here." And I'd been doing the majority of the taxes for quite a while, but we have a pretty reduced client base. I have about 80 clients that are active right now. mainly because I don't, when a new one comes in, I tell them right up front, I said, you can't afford me. And they say, well, why not? I said, because my minimum charge is $750. They said, well,
Let's-
now.
Please
let's
don't
argue-
share the numbers.
Well, okay, let's argue about that, and we argue and I always win. So, but I have one client that I have is an RA. He's also a real estate client of mine because I've been a real estate broker for 50 plus years. And he asked me a couple of years ago, he says, well, when the hell are you going to retire? You're into your 80s now. What's going on? I said, Jason, here's how it's going to go down. I'm going to be on the phone arguing with one of you guys. You're going to go off to research a point that I've brought up, and you're going to come back to a deadline and a dead practitioner. I'm going out with my boots on.
Very nice. Hopefully not for a very long time.
Oh, I'm only 84 right now. I figure I've got a lot more time to harass others. So, and I enjoy the hell out of doing it.
Excellent. Kelly and Maria have differing opinions. I love this. Kelly, I'm going to ask you to start off with the branding and the, building up the value of the firm instead of the value of the relationship to the individual. I think that's what you're talking about on the chat.
Yes, I think we have a challenge. I mean, if you're a small practitioner, I'm a solo shop, and I probably more so sell myself more than services, if that makes sense. Because I do a lot of public speaking or helping other practitioners one-on-one, and it's hard to cascade that down to a staff, right? But I think for a firm, even the smaller firms and I think this discussion hit on remote, which brought it kind of to light, thinking about it. If you're providing services in the office and the email and everything they're providing services out of, Podunk, Arkansas, wherever you happen to be, right? The person has a relationship with the portfolio of people in the firm, and that's what's marketable, as opposed to if you have to reach out and touch Kelly, and that's the value you're getting is touching Kelly. I can't sell that because when Kelly retires, my book of business retires. So I think that's, at least in some strategies, I think, you see it in naming, right? And then you see firm names that used to be KPMG used to be Pete Marwick, right? Well, they got rid of Pete Marwick and went to initials. E&Y used to be Ernst & Young, right? And those are very obviously national firms, but even locally, if it's, Jinsey and Company, people are looking for Jinsey, right? But if it's, I don't know, if it's South Carolina, it's Carolina tax program, whatever, then that's what they're looking for. And the fact that there's not a specific face there, it's easier, I think, to say, oh, well, Jinsey's not doing your return this year. She's crunching down her scope. You're handed off to so-and-so, but Jinsey's still here providing all that support. So you're still getting the same level of support that you've been getting, but now I can be able to market like, kind of, I think what Michael's alluding to, right? How do I brand and build the firm in order to make it marketable? Because if you have a small practice, absent selling off to the junior in the office, you're kind of boxed in.
Good. Maria, you had a nuanced observation on that.
So I don't disagree with Kelly. It's just practically it can be a challenge. So I've seen it from two perspectives. I worked at a firm that was actively acquiring other firms, which actually included somebody who died at his desk in January of a heart attack. That was interesting, acquiring all his clients and his handwritten notes. They also acquired a practice that had people that were 3 partners that were retiring that had a very difficult time introducing their clients to the new younger generation that was taking over the tax preparation. So in that arrangement, that's very important. The success of the longevity of the client staying with the acquiring firm is highly dependent on the way that the person that they used to have a relationship with helps hand over the baton and grooms them, etc. But for a sole practitioner, like, I don't know where some of you are finding your employees. I've had some really good employees, but they, if they're really good, they can get benefits and, a better package someplace else. And so they generally don't stay long. And I've had employees that I thought were going to be good, and I've introduced them to all my clients, and then I found out that they weren't so good, and then I've got to go do damage control. So it's a hard road to find the right pathway on to success, because if it's just me, then all the clients want to talk to me. But I think the other piece with that is I have clients that are very respectful of my time, and they'll go directly to an employee. But if that employee is a silo and never shares any of that information with me, then they're undercutting that. Even if it's unintentional, they're undercutting the relationship that I have with the client and my ability to be overseeing things from the background.
Nice. That's a lot. I love that. Thank you, Maria. Marcel, you wanted to talk about, you inherited some of your clients from an accountant who passed also. This is not an uncommon theme with our group. It's unfortunate, but it's not uncommon. Tell us a little bit about that story.
Well, I don't know if you can hear me or not.
Yes.
Okay. I had the video off. I'm in the rural Alaska. It's very hard to keep both things going. The clients that I got, this person passed, he was a one-man show in his house. All of his stuff is in his house. His wife doesn't know anything about it. Now these clients, I've had 2 or 3 of them come to me. I figured out that it's the same dude that passed away. They have, of course, the clients, clients don't keep their copies of their tax returns, and the copies that they do have don't include any depreciation schedules. So, it's really tough on the client sometimes when they die at their desk, especially if they're not equipped with complete tax returns so that the next person can take over. I don't know. I guess I put my clients too much first, but it's really hard on them.
Marcel, I'm not going to ask that question. Let's.
No, you can go ahead.
So all right, then so I apologize for the question in advance, but so you, having experienced this as you did on that side, what are you doing, or what processes or systems do you have in place to support your clients in the event you win the lottery and decide to retire instantly and buy a desert island?
I'm not easily offended. That's not an offensive question. I like that. I don't have a good plan. I think about it all the time. One of the things that I always do is I give them really good copies of their tax returns, that include depreciation schedules. I try to educate my clients so that they're not just, so they don't know anything. The ones that I inherited didn't know anything. Oh, I just give it to Joe and he charges me this teeny tiny amount. And that's what's always happened. And I'm going, and Joe's not the person's name, but it's just, all you can do, I educate. I really like educating my clients and making them feel responsible for their own stuff. I recently helped a client with an audit that was done by their taxes had been done by a national organization. And they were, they said, my dad got in tax trouble. She's a little artist, and my dad got in trouble, and I've always taken my stuff to a tax professional to be able to do my taxes. And the auditor keeps telling me, well, you're responsible for this. It's not, she says, and I don't know anything about any of this, and trying to educate her. She doesn't want to learn anything about it. She wants to dump it all off. So it's harder with her, but I see how she gets in trouble, and now she sees with this audit, now she has this big bill because she didn't keep good records. some of the results of that. And I can use that story maybe to incentivize some of my other clients to learn to
Oh, your daughter's left.
pardon?
She didn't give you.
Oh, I think we lost you, Robert. Say it again. I'm not
Oh,
hearing you, sir. Well, that's okay. Marcel,
Okay.
go ahead and finish. We'll see if
Well,
we can.
it's the education of the clients, you know, and you know, I'm a little tiny practice. I don't know that anyone. I've got a granddaughter who's interested in learning. I've got a granddaughter who's interested in learning, so I'm trying to teach her, but you know, she's got a new baby, so it's problematic.
Funny how those get in the way.
Newborns are hard.
And Lorinda, you had a wonderful comment that is getting a lot of positive response. And would you like to share with the class?
Sure. So I know one of the gals mentioned that it's difficult when the depreciation schedules are not there, and it is a huge problem. And I provide depreciation schedules with every tax return. It prints out automatically. It goes to them electronically, everything, because I keep my job security by doing a good job, not by withholding information that another preparer needs. It's only going to create a problem when, and if they do switch accountants, then you're going to get the call and they're going to ask you for the depreciation schedule. And I'm going to tell you that's not going to happen off tax season. That will be during tax season. So it's going to irritate you even more. I don't understand. And I've had a lot of new clients that have come in without the schedules. And of course there's depreciation there. And it's not a pretty sight.
Brilliant. Yeah, lots of clapping, lots of clapping going on. Deborah, we're going to come back to you as we close this out. Do you provide the depreciation schedules to your clients?
Yes, I do, because I've been in that same boat when trying to reconstruct depreciation, and it's a nightmare. So yes, I give it to them. A lot of times they lose it and they don't know where it is, but yes, they always get it.
Thank you. Deborah's our past president from 2 years ago. Jency is our current president. Jency, would you like to close us out with any words of wisdom?
I have no words of wisdom, but I would still like to ask everybody on here if they were interested in committee. We're going to finish that up this week, and I'd like to have someone who hasn't been on a committee before to be on one now, so they can learn more about NSA. It was nice seeing the certificates of NSA on the board, on their walls. It looks nice. I asked if you have any problems this year, you get in touch with me. I don't mind talking to you at all. And just we're going to have a very, 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 very good year this year.
So Jency's home number is? No,
The cell number is, and I actually published it, and I don't mind you having it. It's 704-502 da 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 da.
You can find her email address on their website,
right, on my
send her an
website.
email directly. We'll get you in there. But there are a lot of opportunities to serve on committees and ad hoc task force on some of these items that we're looking to do, especially where we're looking to support the state and local opportunities. So if any of you want to get more involved, please feel free to reach out either to myself or to Jency, and we'd love to hear from you. We really appreciate you all taking the time today. I think this was a great discussion, and we will see you next month. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.